if you thought this championship battle was over, it is far from it. Lewis Hamilton won the Brazilian Grand Prix, or they call it the Sao Paulo Grand Prix now. They changed names. I don't know if there's some technicality that I missed there. But anyways, Lewis Hamilton won at Brazil. Today had a freaking amazing drive today. Had a great drive yesterday in the sprint qualifying, but man, oh man, I swear. So if you don't know, this is my first full year of like watching F1 and stuff, and here's what I don't understand, especially the last few weeks. So people said COTA, the Circuit of the Americas, Austin, Texas, United States Grand Prix. They said that is a Mercedes track. Mercedes is going to win there. They're going to do great there. Verstappen qualifies on pole, wins the race. Then we go to Mexico. In Mexico, everyone said, oh, Red Bull track, Red Bull easy win. And they did win, but Mercedes qualified 1-2. I was a little bit confused after that one. And then they were saying Red Bull, or Brazil, Interlagos, was a Red Bull track, and Mercedes clearly looked faster all weekend. So, am I missing something here, I guess? Like, maybe I should just stop listening to everyone? I don't know. But basically, all that's been wrong in the past, 3 weeks. Whatever track is something, I don't know. I'm blabbling on. Anyways, Lewis Hamilton won at Brazil, a very important win for him. But this one was not just any ordinary win. It was a roller coaster of a weekend for him and Mercedes. Went on Friday for the qualifying for the sprint race on Saturday, and Lewis Hamilton put it on pole, qualified first. It was going to be him and Max Verstappen on the front row for the sprint race. But, hold on, there is an investigation. That's right. FIA announces they're investigating Lewis Hamilton, his rear wing, his DRS system, something like that. Checking it out, saying it might be illegal. They're going to check it. And then after, there's a video that surfaced of Max Verstappen actually going up to Lewis Hamilton's car and literally just touching it. He rubbed underneath it like that. He didn't grab it and shake it violently or something, but he went under and he touched it. And then all of a sudden, it's Max Verstappen's being called to the stewards. And so the next day, it is announced that Lewis Hamilton has been disqualified from the qualifying session and will have to start at the back of the sprint qualifying. Max Verstappen gets a €50,000 fine for touching Lewis Hamilton's car, and I think it's parc fermé. I think that's the term they said. But anyways, so it got really dramatic there really quickly this weekend. And then Lewis Hamilton in the sprint qualifying race went from dead last, 20th, and he went up to 5th. And on top of that, he had a 5-place grid penalty for replacing his internal combustion engine. I think that's the proper term. Correct me if I'm wrong there. But he replaced that, got a 5-place grid penalty. So they knew they were going to get a 5-place penalty no matter where they started, whether they started 13th, they would be 18th. They started 15th, 20th, 10th, 15th, and so on and so on. Well, Lewis Hamilton said he was aiming for the top 10. He aimed really high. He went from 20th to 5th in 24 laps in this sprint race, and he ended up starting 10th today. It was an incredible drive, but then today happened, and Lewis Hamilton, once again, showing why he is one of the greatest of all time. He went from 10th to the podium positions in under 10 to 15 laps. He had a really good start of the race, was up to 6th or 7th maybe by the first couple of laps, and then he was up to 5th, then he was up to 4th. He passed the Ferraris pretty quickly, then he passed his teammate. I think his teammate let him by, but still, he passed him. And then all of a sudden, he's looking at the Red Bulls like, hello, hey, I'm here. Then there's a safety car for all this debris from all this carnage and crashing. He's right there. He eventually gets past Perez, but by that point, Verstappen had pulled ahead. They do some strategy stuff, and then Lewis Hamilton all of a sudden is faster. Then, we're recapping this day really quickly, and then we'll get into some more detail stuff later. Then, he finally gets an opportunity to pass Verstappen. You know what Verstappen does? He forces him wide. And not only does he force him wide, he himself goes wide. And I'm not talking a little bit wide. I'm talking a very much big margin wide. They both go way off the racetrack. No penalty, surprisingly. And then Lewis Hamilton later in the race with about 10 to go, 12 to go, 13 to go, somewhere in that range. He passes Max Verstappen and goes on to win the Brazilian Grand Prix. Gets up on the podium with a Brazilian flag. Of course, his hero was Ayrton Senna. Is it Ayrton or Ayrton? I've heard both pronunciations. I don't know what the correct pronunciation is, so someone tell me, is it Ayrton or Ayrton or Ayrton? I don't know. Anyways, Senna, Brazilian. He gets a Brazilian flag, waves it, crowd loves it. And, yeah, he won. So, yeah, an incredible drive by him, an incredible weekend for him. I've only been watching this 1 year, but that's got to be like one of his top weekends in Formula One. I know he has 101 career wins. He's got a ton of poles. He's had plenty of comebacks in his career, I'm sure, but that's got to be like one of his best performances, right? I mean, that's a great performance. That's an all-time great performance, especially considering the situation. I mean, if he doesn't win this race, if he can finish second, they're still in striking distance for the championship, but if Verstappen wins and he finishes second, then that's a 26-point or a 28-point gap because Verstappen got a couple points from the sprint. But with everything else that happened this weekend, it was very possible that Hamilton could have been in the bottom of the points or even out of the points if something went wrong. But Hamilton was able to avoid chaos. He was able to get past the field and stuff, and he was able to get up and pass Max Verstappen. So the fact that looking at this weekend, they knew, or people kept on saying it was a Red Bull track, so Mercedes was going to have to work harder, I'm sure, than they usually do. But, then all this stuff happens. The disqualification happens, and, you have to start at the back. And looking at that, you're like, okay, this could really hurt not only the Drivers' Championship, but the Constructors' Championship a bunch. Like, this weekend's going to be very difficult now. And they somehow, Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes, somehow found a way to close in on the Drivers' Championship and extend the Constructors' Championship lead. I mean, it was incredible. It was like, I've never seen anything like that, really. I mean, after Friday night when they were saying Hamilton's likely going to get disqualified from the qualifying and start last in the sprint, I was like, wow, Verstappen might lock up this championship this week. And, not mathematically, but, he might have a 30, 40-point lead with 3 races to go. I know that Hamilton made that up earlier in the year, but, Verstappen had to crash a couple times for that to happen. So it's going to take a lot to overcome that. And, this weekend might be it. That might be the end. But Hamilton, Mercedes, they showed up today. They showed up this weekend. They showed what they were made of. And they went out and they had the fastest car all weekend. And even though they got disqualified, started at the back, they didn't get too down. They didn't have any problems. They didn't blame other people. They went out and they just kicked everyone's butt. And, that was extremely impressive, to say the least. I mean, seriously, that was crazy to see that. But, yeah, the title battle is still on. The way the last few weeks have gone, you're thinking, Red Bull, they're pulling away. They might pull away and win this thing. And really just kind of knock Mercedes out and say, hey, well, it was fun ruining your run. Get out of here now. We destroyed you. But Mercedes has responded well, especially this weekend. Can they carry this momentum into the last 3 races in the Middle East? I don't know. We got 2 new tracks, which are going to be mysteries, at least to me, because, usually with these other races, I'm able to look up past history, who's won there most recently, who's finished on the podium, led laps, all that stuff. But these next 2 races, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you longtime F1 fans who know more stuff, you guys know who has the better engine, who has the better aero, who has the better whatever it may be. You guys know who might be better just based off how the track is, if there's more long straightaways, more tight corners, which team has more downforce, which team has a better engine for the long straights, the power. I don't know who has more of what. So, tell me in the comments if you do know that. I'd be very interested. But Abu Dhabi, I think, has gone Mercedes' way more than not the past few years. I know Max won this race last year, the Abu Dhabi race. But the title battle is going to get close. And we've seen Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen race each other very hard this year. The first race of the season at Bahrain, they had a great battle for the win. Verstappen passed Hamilton, but he went off track. And then we saw at Imola, we saw them make contact in the first chicane at Tamburello. We saw them at Spain. I think they made a little bit of contact in that first turn. We saw, obviously, Silverstone happened when Verstappen got crashed by Hamilton. We saw Monza where they crashed each other. I mean, it's very possible it happens again. That's what I'm saying. I don't want that to happen again, but the way it's gone this year, I think it's very possible that this championship ends up, pretty crazy. I mean, heck, today almost ended like that with Verstappen and Hamilton. there on that first attempt of Hamilton trying to pass him. But luckily it didn't. Luckily Hamilton was able to get around him clean, have a good clean race there. But it's been such an enjoyable year for Formula One, honestly. You know, as I said earlier in this video, this is my first full year watching, and I've enjoyed every bit of it. This title fight has been amazing with the constructors, with the drivers, obviously, but watching Verstappen and Hamilton go at it every single week has been extremely fun to watch. It's been incredible to watch. I mean, you know, you're not going to get this every year. You're not going to get this, heck, every 5 years maybe. I think the last close title battle that went down to the wire, according to what I've seen and heard, is 16 with Rosberg and Hamilton. Because ever since then, it's been Mercedes, Mercedes, Mercedes. I think Ferrari made a run at it in 2017 or 2018, but they choked or something like halfway through the season. But yeah, it's fun to see a championship battle come down to the last 3 races, and it's really cool to see it happen with 2 different teams, Red Bull and Mercedes. And, you know, those 2 teams have won everything in the last decade. You know, Red Bull started off the decade, 2010 through 2013, winning all those races, winning those championships, and then since then it's been Mercedes. So really cool to see the start of the 2020s start off with the teams who dominated the 2010s battling for this championship. So I'm curious to see how it's going to go down. I'm curious to see who's going to win it, if anyone's going to crack under the pressure. It hasn't seemed that really any team, either one of them, has cracked under pressure. They've had their moments where they made contact with each other, something's happened, something out of their control, like at Azerbaijan when Verstappen blew a tire. But it just seems like this title battle is going to end up being like extremely iconic, and these last 3 races are really going to make it. So it could come down to the final laps at Abu Dhabi in a few weeks, but it's been a great championship battle thus far, and I cannot wait to see how it goes. We've been talking about this for a while. Let's look at the results of the race. Lewis Hamilton, obviously the winner today. His 6th, 7th win of the... I don't know how many races he's won this year, to be honest. But his first win since Russia at the end of September. And only his 2nd win since his home Grand Prix at Silverstone. But a big one. He closes the championship gap from 21 points to... I think 14. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's a 14-point lead now, and that is very manageable. If they finish 1-2 in the next 2 races with Hamilton winning and neither of them getting the fastest lap, that would be a tie going into Abu Dhabi. Boy, would that be a fun one. But obviously, Lewis Hamilton needed to outscore Verstappen, obviously, but getting the win, able to get 7 points on Verstappen today. And what a drive, as we said, not just today, but this whole weekend. Look, I know there's a lot of Lewis Hamilton haters out there just because he wins a lot, or maybe you just don't like him. I don't know, but you got to appreciate the talent of this dude, the skill of this dude, what he has been able to do in Formula One. 7 championships, 101 race wins, tied for the most all-time and the most all-time. Tons of poles, tons of podiums. I mean, you name it, he's done it. You got to appreciate the guy's ability, his talent, all that stuff. And today, he showed it today. I mean, he showed every single bit of it. So congratulations to him. Great win for him. Makes the championship battle a bit more interesting. Max Verstappen, 2nd. I'm sure disappointed with today's results. High expectations coming into this weekend. Had a great start at the beginning of the race. Was able to get past Valtteri Bottas for the lead. Was able to lead quite a bit, but with about 13 to go, those tires just could not hold up. He had 4 or 5 lap older tires than Hamilton. And then also, I mean, Hamilton was just faster this weekend, and Hamilton finally got by Max Verstappen. Verstappen, this looked to be a weekend that they could potentially make a bigger championship lead, but instead they go to Qatar with a smaller championship lead. But once again, a great battle between these two. This could be one that goes down in the ages, or whatever they say. Bottas, another podium, a good weekend for him. Started on pole. He won the sprint race, got 3 points there. But a bad start, went from 1st to 3rd, gave up position to both Red Bulls. So at the beginning, it was like, oh man, the perfect situation for Red Bull. They got 1-2 in the first 3 corners. Well, it didn't go Red Bull's way, but Bottas is able to rally back for a podium finish. Decent weekend for him, but he almost screwed it up there at the beginning for Mercedes. 4th place, Sergio Perez. Perez, oof. He was looking good. It was looking like that podium streak was gonna continue. And that's not a bad oof, but, you know, it's just like, it looked like that podium streak was going to continue. It started back at Turkey. Then he got a podium at the U.S. Grand Prix, got a podium at his home Grand Prix. But then this week, so close, but couldn't quite get it done. Finishes 4th for Red Bull and takes away the fastest lap from Lewis Hamilton. So he did take that point away from Lewis. 5th place, Charles Leclerc. 6th place, Carlos Sainz, Ferrari. They took 3rd in the Constructors last week from McLaren. This week they extended it. Very bad week for McLaren and a decent week for Ferrari. It seemed like the past few weeks, Ferrari's finished 5th, 6th. I mean, they're the 3rd best team. They are. I mean, they perform that way. They've shown it. They've been consistent. We see Red Bull, Mercedes, Red Bull, Mercedes, or Mercedes, Red Bull, Mercedes, Red Bull in the top 4. But then right after that, it's usually Ferrari or maybe a McLaren. It seems like the past few weeks. Well, Ferrari extends their 3rd place advantage over McLaren. Good performances by both Sainz and Leclerc today. 7th place, Pierre Gasly in the AlphaTauri. 8th place, Esteban Ocon. 9th place, Fernando Alonso. Good, decent day for Alpine. I think they're in a battle with Aston Martin in the Constructors. Maybe that's AlphaTauri. I don't know. 10th place, Lando Norris. He started 6th, 7th. He had a great start, but unfortunately he went down, made contact with Carlos Sainz, got a tire puncture before he even made it to the first turn, immediately dropped to the back of the field, had to go pit on lap 1, had already lost a ton of time, but somehow rallies to get a point today, gets a 10th place finish. Bad day for McLaren. Daniel Ricciardo did not finish the race, had a power unit issue, but yes, good comeback from Norris, but once again, McLaren, not the day they wanted to see for their battle with Ferrari for 3rd. 11th, Sebastian Vettel. 12th, Kimi Räikkönen in his final race at Brazil. Of course, he won the championship at Brazil in 2007, the last Ferrari driver to win a championship, actually. 13th, George Russell. 14th, Antonio Giovinazzi. I think it's supposed to be announced this week that he's getting replaced by Guan Yu Zhou. Yeah, that's tough. I like Giovinazzi. He seems like a decent guy, and I swear the guy's always smiling. I mean, he just looks like a really happy guy, but unfortunately he's getting replaced. 15th, Yuki Tsunoda. 16th, Nicholas Latifi. 17th, the greatest driver of all time, Nikita Mazepin. 18th, Mick Schumacher. 19th and 20th is Daniel Ricciardo and Lance Stroll. They did not finish the race, but they were both near the points, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but yeah. Once again, honestly, today was an amazing race. Looking at last week's race at Mexico, there was that battle between Perez and Hamilton at the end that was really fun, but other than that, it just didn't seem there was a ton of action outside of the lap 1 incident. But this week was a really fun race. You had the battle between Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, between Hamilton and Perez. Obviously, right off the start, you had Max Verstappen passing Valtteri Bottas. You had a lot of passing, a lot of overtaking. That's the proper word in F1, I guess. I'm a NASCAR fan, so sorry. But overall, I just really enjoyed this race. It seemed like there was action on every lap. It seemed like there was something happening. Someone was closing a gap. Someone was making a pass on every lap. The different strategies, trying to get the undercut. It was just a really solid race. It wasn't the greatest race I've ever seen or anything. Heck, it's probably not the greatest F1 race I've ever seen. But I really enjoyed this race today. Pretty solid race, if you ask me. But, yeah, once again, Lewis Hamilton, great drive by him. Amazing drive. I don't know what else I can say about that. But, yeah, next week is Qatar. That will be an interesting one. It's a brand new track for F1 at least. I don't know how long the track's been there, but I know F1's never been there. None of these drivers have been there. I don't think. Maybe. But it should be an interesting one. Should be a fun one. So I'm looking forward to it. But, yeah, woo F1. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Like, subscribe, share, all that stuff. And, yeah, I don't know where you are in the world. Have a good day. Have a good night. Have a good morning.